can say like whatever I want. So you need to sort of figure this out for yourself. And I would really encourage you to study other industries that have gone through what I think we're just lucky that the recession, the last recession, hit at a time where it kind of drove Redfin out of some markets where they were getting some penetration. There was a little bit of money coming into our industry, and it just came at the right time where it kind of stopped it all. But private equity, I think it was $3 billion last year, and I think it's going to double again this year in terms of that have been coming into real estate and investing just money into buying companies that are going to disrupt our industry. So that's just a fact. It's going to happen, and you need to decide what your response is going to be. And for us, the only logical response is to provide a service that will command a premium. And maybe that premium isn't what it is today. It still needs to be like there's something here that's different than any other real estate service in the entire country. Like that's my goal for all of you, and it doesn't matter the size of your team. If there's you and one administrator and one buyer agent, all the better, because the three of you can start this thing right now and say, hey, listen, we're going to do something different that the industry's never seen before. And I mean, like, that sounds like a bold statement, but I really mean that y'all can do it, because it's not as hard as we make it out to be. Like, you need to be the world-class provider of real estate services if you're going to be relevant in the future. And so that's sort of the guiding statement here. And the question is, how am I thinking about my business in terms of my ability to scale solely by getting referrals based on the service your team provides? Write that down. How am I thinking about my business in terms of my ability to scale solely by getting referrals based on the service your team provides? And for the most part, for every one of us, what we put together today and what we work through today is 100% aspirational, right? So we're going to talk about how we want our teams to look and the steps we're going to take to get there. And it's I like that, smart. It's aspirational because we're not there yet, because we're busy doing all this stuff and we're just busy all day long. We don't have a lot of time to create a world-class experience. There was a couple influences. Who knows this guy? Well, I mean, besides me. That's me, a younger version of me. Yeah, he just passed away like less than a month ago, I think. Dan Kennedy. All his books, in particular, No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs, was like, in 2007, it was one of the books I read. That was the whole dollar per hour calculation I did, which really changed things for me. He has a book called No BS for Maximum Referrals with Sean Buck. Sean Buck's the newsletter guy. And so his stuff in terms of, the hardest piece of business you'll get is that new lead you pay for. And our industry is addicted to the new lead. Addicted. And I don't feel like we spend any time thinking about how can we turn this person into 10 more just like it. We're just like, oh, hey, what are you doing for marketing? Well, I'm doing Zillow. I'm like, Zillow is not marketing. Like, I hate to tell everyone in this room, it is not freaking marketing. Doesn't mean you can't get it to work, and it doesn't mean, it's not a legitimate lead source. It just means you need to think about what you're going to do with that person once they come into your funnel. And so another guy, who knows this guy? His name keeps changing. So it used to be the $9.4 billion man. Who knows this guy? Anybody? Oh, Peterson does. She was at this event. This was a Kinder Reese event. Jay Abraham. Yep. Super smart guy. He has a book, Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got. 21 ways you can outthink, outperform, and out-earn the competition. And I was actually on stage with him, and he was interviewing like a panel, and I didn't even understand the language he was speaking. He was like so much smarter than me. It was just like a really awkward conversation. Like, he would ask me a question, and I'm like, what are you even asking me right now? Can we just, it's real estate. It's a house, and there's like a buyer, and it got real weird real quick there. Oh, I shouldn't have put his name on there. This is probably, about Jay. So Jay put out, and I call him Jay. I've only met him once for 2 seconds, so I don't know the guy. So he recorded a half day of an event where he called the thing 93 referral systems. And most of them weren't applicable, and he literally just got the room to stand up for 3 hours and give their best referral systems, and then he created a product and he sold it, which I thought was awesome. So the second session today, we're just going to have, no, I'm just kidding. So in one of the referral systems, a guy stood up and he said, as a condition to do business with us, we have our clients sign that, we don't have time to find new business, and in order for us to take you on as a client, you have to commit to bringing us one paying client. Sign here. And I thought that was really bold. Well, my first thought was like, man, that's bold. And if you can't commit to that, then we're just not going to do business together, and it's okay. Because I'll find someone who can bring me a new client, because I'm going to serve you at such a level where you're going to have no problem sending me somebody, which I thought was really cool. And then only when I got into KW, I think, is when I sort of heard of My Kicks. Who knows, who's seen this? It's like a 2-minute video on YouTube. It's worth watching. I'm not going to role play The Promise. So the version of The Promise we're sort of using today was probably started by My Kicks. So I don't take credit for it. I don't think he's selling anything around it. It's like 90% of his business in Boise, Idaho, I think it is based on referral, something crazy. And so it's worth watching that video. So The Promise by Mike Hicks, you can just go to YouTube and watch it. And I'm going to take you through, there's 4 or 5 elements that everyone in this room, you have to commit to building out over the next 2 to 3 years. Doesn't have to be in 2019. It just has to be a process. And I know you guys are close. You just launched yours, right? Good. And so I've taught some of this before, and I want to teach it again because I really want you all to understand it. In terms of the funnel, I actually don't really care how y'all bring in new business. As long as you frame that new piece of business, so everything on the left side here, as long as you frame it around, I'm going to make this Zillow lead or this, when I did that listing marketing training, a lot of you were, and I'm challenged by this. Some of the referral seller sites that are working really well in some markets right now, you pay a 30% referral, and I'm okay with it as long as you figure out the model calls for 10%, and you're willing to pay 30%. So as long as you can get 2 more deals without paying for them to sort of displace the cost that you paid on that one lead, that's okay. And that comes down to the way you think about your funnel. So if you're willing to pay 30% for a new client to come in here, you better make sure you have your yard marketing in order, your referral systems in order, you're prospecting that neighborhood for the next listing, you're helping, there's 5 commission checks you want to earn. So the game starts over here. Actually, I don't think we give a lot of, when you sign a client to when the client closes, this is where we focus the most. We have a ton of work still to do in here, but this is where we're measuring. Oh, you want me to get out of the way? Take a picture. That's where we're measuring our progress. And I'll go through our scorecard here in a second. We're really taking it on. And the nice thing about it, when I think of Mimi runs our operations, how many team owners think that operations people are easier to deal with than salespeople? Raise your hands. No? I think 100%. So my point is, the beauty of it is that if you give an operations person a challenge around, hey, let's commit to building out this thing where it's world class, and maybe we can read these books about Ritz-Carlton, and maybe we'll do an agent mastermind, and they are compliant, they want to perform for you, they're going to do the work, they're not making excuses like salespeople, and they think they're the gift to the world, and they really want to just do good stuff. So that's the cool thing about this, is that the folks that are going to help you implement this are folks that will actually do right? Jenna's one of those. She's going to show up and do the work, versus a Drew personality, can't even deal with that girl. And so I think that's the comfort in some of this, is that your operations staff, when you sort of bring this back to them and you really sort of rally around this, you guys will figure this out. And there are some moving parts in here, and it could get confusing. Don't let it confuse you. And we have to make this decision. I feel like a lot of teams, a lot of agents going to be caught in this mushy middle, not knowing if they're oh, wait, there's a company where you can go on an app, and in 3 clicks, you can have a photographer scheduled for $495, and I'm on the MLS? What? that happened? Like, yeah, of course it happened. I think it probably exists now, but stuff like that is going to be so common in the future. And it doesn't mean you can't compete at the highest level. You just better make sure that service in like 2 or 3 years is going to be the same service that most agents provide today, really, when you think about it. And so we just have to make this decision. Of course, there's an opportunity for me to share cute pictures of my kids. So I really geek out now on like just experiences at like contrasting companies in the same industry. So this is Universal Studios, and Kendall was like binge watching SpongeBob. I mean, like as much as, and she still watches it. Any of you have those? What's the Alexa alarm clock that has a little screen on it? Did any of you have those? Echo, is that what it's called? Yeah. It's like that. What, I don't know. My kids figured out. I thought it was just like we could pop in our room and we can see them. She's watching SpongeBob on it within 5 minutes. She just said, "Hey Alexa, turn on SpongeBob," and it turned it on. So she still binge watches it. And so this picture is at Carowinds, which is like a really good amusement park. We have some of the best roller coasters in the whole country. Everyone that works at Carowinds is miserable. They hate their job, and they're not afraid to let you know that. But they have really good roller coasters. And at the end of this was at the beginning, at the end of it, she was crying her eyes out. And then at the end of the day, we were sprinting to catch this before it closed. She's like that kind of kid. And the line leading up to hugging, SpongeBob, the lady was like talking to Kendall and getting her excited about it. And that person knew that for Kendall, this was like a lifetime experience. As silly as that sounds, like in our businesses, we have the opportunity to do that at a time where we take it for granted that you're selling your home, and it's nothing to be taken for granted. People are vulnerable in that time. There could be some life circumstance that you don't know about that's going on. And y'all have heard me tell my Disney story. We have told everyone about Disney cruises. We don't even really like cruises per se, but a Disney cruise is like the best thing ever. It's just a different experience. I don't even have anything to compare it to, and I don't think I'll ever go on another cruise line. Until Jessica told me about her experience on her cruise. I may try Royal Caribbean. This was on the plane ride here. Jordan wrote me this note to Julie, Mr. and Mrs. Hedenborg. Thank you for flying with us today and for being Gold and Platinum Advantage members. Have a wonderful evening. I'm like, so nice. I still have it, the stupid little napkin. Right? Flight number, date, everything I need to know to leave him a freaking review. I got this email right afterwards. How was your trip? Begin the survey. And then Net Promoter Score. And I don't remember getting this email. So I think my suspicion is this is something new, maybe, that they're doing. But so I really pay attention to things like this because I think it's going to help us in our businesses. This is sort of a random quote by a guy I didn't know, but I wanted to find a Ritz-Carlton quote. And I'm going to read this to you. I'm going to read you the whole thing here. I clipped a portion from the article. So in an interview with Forbes Ritz-Carlton COO Humler, Humler discussed Ritz-Carlton's oft-cited customer service policy, which is predicated on the concept of employee empowerment. Every employee, from the janitors to the chefs to chief executives like Humler himself, is encouraged to fix any guest problem they encounter, and they don't need to ask permission to do so, even if it costs as much as $2,000. But employees can't connect with customers to answer questions and problem solve unless they're committed to this mission, which Humler ensures every employee is, starting on their first day of training. By investing in each and every employee, Ritz-Carlton empowers them to be autonomous and attentive to hotel guests, even if it's outside the realm of their job role. Customer success leaders should look to Ritz-Carlton as a model for the impact of giving employees autonomy. The more valued employees feel, the more engaged they are in going the extra mile to help a customer succeed, and happy customers will then recommend your brand to others. And so the quote here is, I believe in the power of recognition and empowerment leading to great employee engagement. And employee engagement is critical to guest engagement. Employee empowerment and recognition is the core of our culture and how we achieve outstanding customer service. So for our real estate team, we have chosen like Ritz-Carlton as the analogy, right? I just encourage you, whatever your thing is, if it's like Zappos versus like off-Broadway shoes or whatever, or for a while for me it was Julie got me a stylist appointment at Nordstrom when I used to crush TJ Maxx, and Nordstrom is just different than TJ Maxx. It's just different. It's not bad or indifferent. Like each store is competing in its own right, and they're just different. So I feel like it gets really fun business when you start to attach yourself to like, yeah, let's be more like, Universal Studios and less like Carowinds. It gets really, really fun. And then I'm going to have you all look this up. Write this down and put like a star next to it. On Ritz-Carlton's website, the Ritz-Carlton Gold Standards. And we think that this stuff is sort of out of our reach, and it's not. There are companies that are there's one part here. Am I late? So I think it's worth everyone just kind of reading through this. And this is how many years Ritz-Carlton been around? Like 125 or something crazy? Oh, got it. And they're like however many employees. So it's not something that happens overnight, and this probably didn't like come out like the first iteration. The cool thing is, I am proud to be Ritz-Carlton. So it's ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. That's sort of their overarching statement, that nobody's better or worse than anyone else. We're all here to just serve and give a great experience. And I just thought this part was especially cool. I build strong relationships and create Ritz-Carlton guests for life. I'm always responsive to the expressed and unexpressed wishes and needs of our guests. I am empowered to create unique, memorable, and personal experiences for our guests. I understand my role in achieving the key success factors. I don't know why this is coming up. And so I'll let y'all go through this. But really, the thing I want to impress here is that you have to be thinking in some version of this. And it's going to take you years and years and years to build something that is like a Ritz versus a Marriott versus a motel. It doesn't matter where you start in the journey. You have to make this decision about where you're going to end up and what you're striving for. I believe it with every ounce of my being in this industry, because we've seen it play out in other industries. And then I think there are a lot of teams that it's hardly like an organized business. Like if you really were to go into, I would say probably 70-80% of teams, and you would go and buy a home from 3 of their agents or sell your home with 3 of their agents, you wouldn't get a consistent level of care. I really think that teams are missing the boat on this. And this is where, again, it gets fun, because you have a group of people in your business, and it only needs to start with one person that really gets this, one key administrator that really understands the power of this, that's willing to help you build it and make it a system that's duplicatable. So every time, I think I have one in here. There was one testimonial that we got that was like, it was the longest one I've ever seen of any business ever in my life. I'm not going to read it again. It was amazing. This guy, and it was unsolicited, this guy called out every piece of the transaction, every person that impacted his life. And it's our mission on every transaction, no matter how challenging the client is, to get them to say something really super nice about us and really earn that. And I feel like we have to go for that every time. And then, of course, when we get that, we have to completely exploit that. So, like, there's definitely capitalistic motivation behind this. It's just good business. And so build a system. Who here has not read the book Atomic Habits? Raise your hand. This really is. I'm reading it. I'm listening to it for the 3rd time. This is one that is really worth it. Really super, super worth reading. My big takeaway from the book is this quote, which is why you'll hear it from me a lot. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And if I think of one area of your business where this is more appropriate, this quote, it is in this area. Like, we team owners are generally front stage focused. Like, all right, what leads are working, database, maybe events, all right, lead conversion, and then where's the commission check? We skip over like the entire, and that's where the business is going to be won. And so from the book, what really stuck with me, the goal shouldn't be to run a marathon. It should be to become a runner. So you could have your agents can like get through a transaction with brute force, with a high level of care, and give a Ritz-Carlton experience one time. And if there's not a system there to support it, because they're not going to be able to do it every time, maybe 2 out of 10 times, if they're lucky. And so I feel like this quote is really, really relevant here. And we all have access to all of this, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. There's only a few things you need to know. First thing you need to be able to, once you secure a client, is just make a promise. Make a really bold promise. Even if, which is what we did, I would say even if you can't support it, I would be, because when we started making the promise, there's nothing worse. A company with one visionary is really challenging to be part of the company. With 2 visionaries as part of the company, we're like, just go make the promise. And be like, what, can we deliver it? No, just make the promise. It's going to be fine. They'll love it. They didn't love it. They didn't love it at first. It took us like a good 18 months to really get this thing to the point where like every time it's coming in with a really solid review and everyone's calling out team members by name. And so it literally is paperwork signed, so before you go, there's just one thing I need to connect with you on. We have this thing called the high performance promise. It's our goal, our intention to make this experience as smooth as possible. All your needs are covered. Everyone on the team is sort of looking out for you and your interests and whatever else it says on there, because I don't do this. I've only role played it once. And then to AJ's point, you're testing 3 times in here. You're like, are we clear? I need you to text me, email me, or call me with the name, phone number, and email address of someone looking to buy, sell, invest, or a career in real estate. And then like, okay, did you get it? And then it's going to be really awkward at closing now that you've agreed to do it and you didn't do it. And so, and then if that happens, we're going to want to talk about it because it means that we failed you. We didn't hold up our end of the bargain. So this one page is the start of it all, and you guys have access to it. And Lance Loken put this together. So this is an R&D from Lance Loken, which Thomas put his little, if you ever talk to Thomas, he has a way of spinning it. The review. In the, yeah. So, Matt was saying, so also get them to commit to review so they're not surprised by the review. Get a review on it. So that's step 1. Does everyone understand step 1? It's literally just taking the script that's there, making it your own. Maybe you don't have all of the steps that are in that script. It's just committing to one part of it. Who here is a team owner that's not going to commit to doing step 1? Raise your hand really high. All right, 100% commitment. So in April, when I say who here has done step 1, everyone's going to raise their hand. You had a question? No? Okay. Oh. Okay. So AJ said, one thing that they do in sort of an expectations conversation in context of this is, hey, if there's ever a time where you feel like you're not getting this level of service, I need to know about it at that moment so I can correct it and we can get it on the right track. That's really good. It's just training your clients to do what you need them to do and making this bold promise. And then the cool thing about it is that for us, and then there's just a simple document that we created a summary document which we attach on top of the paperwork. So when we PDF the paperwork back to the clients and they open it, they see the thing that they committed to. That's just a summary of the document. Yep. Oh yeah, and we also added to our signatures something to the effect, we take the high performance promise seriously. If we're ever not living up to it, we want to know about it. And that's on every signature of every team member. We can get the catch box if, yeah, this is, let's workshop this stuff out, because I think we won't be in business unless we figure this out.
Awesome. So I've been redoing all my listing presentations, buyer presentations, really working on this a lot, and adding this promise script, which is really new to me because database has never been my specialty. So we add the promise script in there, and so and I took this and I made some adjustments to make it a little bit more readable or for my agents. And then we have them sign the promise, then we also have them sign the buyer agency or the listing agreement, obviously. And then you have a marketing document that you have them sign when they take their paperwork. If it's in a consultation, you put it on top of it, and then you give it to them with a copy with the promise on top.
Yeah, so we scan the whole set of documents when we get back to the office, and our ops department scans the whole signed set of documents back to them. And this document's on front, so they're probably not going to go through all of them, but they open it and they're like, they'll just see this document.
So the top document is
top
the
document.
Okay. And then on top of that, you have in their signature, there's something about the promise in their signature as well. Because we have obviously, I actually copied, it was either yours, I think it's yours, email signature with.
Yeah, we copied it from somebody else, so.
Well, somebody then that had high performance. We have our reviews and go to our career page and stuff like that. But it was something that had, but what's the thing about the promise?
Yeah, we just put text on top of all that graphics. So we didn't figure out a slick way to do anything except, literally it's just text above all the graphics saying we take the high performance promise seriously.
Oh, okay.
If we're not living up to it, we want to know about it so we can correct it. Like literally just what AJ said.
Oh, okay.
And then just make this this is eventually going to be part of your culture and who you are and how you're showing up.
All right.
And then so that's step one. And it's really after paperwork is signed. So you've committed to doing business together after. It's just hey, just one more thing before I let you go. We have this thing we call the high performance promise. Our team lives and dies by it. I'm just going to go over it with you here real quick. Let me get you to sign this, and off we go. And at the bottom of this, agent and the client signs this document. So we're both committing to doing this together, to making an awesome experience happen. They're agreeing to let you know if you're not performing. And we have checkpoints during the process that I'll show you here in a second. And then they sign it as well.
Hey, Lars.
Yep.
One of the keys, I think, on this, though, is the team, the admin, the support, they have to be bought into it, too. Because if it's just the listing person, it just dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has to be doing it, or it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I would say, for those of you that have, leadership is influence, right? That's like the John Maxwell thing. So your thing as a leader, especially coming out hot from an event like this with all these wonderful ideas, is to just slow things down and realize what's the one thing I'm going to take back in the next 90 days to my team. And if this is that thing, it's sitting the team down and probably tagging me in the Facebook group and getting some of these slides, go through 5 slides with them and hey, this really struck me, that this is just the reality. I'm studying other industries and we're competing with 15,000 agents in Charlotte, North Carolina. 15,000 agents selling is there 80,000 commission checks? So there's only 5 commission checks per agent. So there's no shortage of us. We're viewed as the public as 100% commodity. Unless you know an agent and did a wonderful job. So I'm not saying we're all commodities. The public views us as a commodity unless we prove them otherwise in the context of a transaction. And then we've got them locked in for life because we're shooting a video every day. Lori Dow is shooting a video every day and they see her face everywhere and it's going to be great. And I think, teams that aren't thinking this way, or teams that are a loose collection of agents, where every agent is doing something different, I just think that they're going to be really challenged in the future. And you could think what you want. Like, I'm here to sort of provoke you to think this way. And if you think differently and you want your agents to just do their best on every transaction, the cool thing about business is, like, time's going to pass. It's probably not going to be like a cliff that this thing falls off, like all of a sudden, like, high service companies win and, crappy agents lose. Like, it's just going to be a gradual process. And I think our roster will do exactly what financial services has done. It's just going to go this slow decline. There's going to be half or a third the number of agents, 10, 12 years from now. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, don't be the Blockbuster Video. Don't be the Betamax in real estate. So build a system. Yeah, and really any training that we do, whether it's here in a workshop or it's on a Wednesday training, and it's something you want to introduce to the team, like, that's why we give you guys access to all the slides. There's a lot of power in being able to bring even these cards. Like, how cool would it be for you to create these cards with your own logo on them? And like every team meeting, there's, you do personal development once a week, and there's always one or two things that are come up. You guys can't do them all, so let's capture these all the time. You're capturing these on impact filters to make sure it's worth doing. Like, every bit of Dave Hook's training, you've got to bring that stuff back to your team, right? Because if you struggle with it, they definitely struggle with it. All right, then I'm not going to do like a full-on Trello training. I think when I look at Misty's stuff on, like, her breakout, she did her agent board. I look at stuff like that, and I don't care if it's in Trello, if it's in Command, or I don't care what technology it's in. If you can open up something on your computer that shows me all the value you provide to a real estate agent in that example, that is just awesome. Like, you use that all day long for recruiting, and you're actually helping your agents achieve. So for us, we have a system where we verify if the promise was delivered. Like, so we want to make sure we deliver the promise, and then all the notes about the client are in there. HP promise signed in file, yes or no, add label. I know when we shared some of these, we have like 1 gazillion tasks in them. So don't get overwhelmed if you look at any of the templates in there and they look overwhelming. And Peterson challenged me on this. Look at it like, okay, I'm going to keep like 10 of these 100. I'm going to get rid of so much of this so I can actually bear to adopt this system and start out with some sort of system around this. Something else in here. So if we don't get, if we reduce the commission, we have a special document. So that's tracked in here. There's one other thing I wanted to see. Listing addendum with scheduled price reductions. If they're not scheduled, they have to reach out to Thomas. Oh, have they given us a referral yet? And then here, Mimi just added this. So we're in the midst of implementing this. We started, it was less than 1 out of 20. Like, when we left the closing table, less than 1 out of 20, we would have a referral in hand before we adopted or even thought about this or even started working on this. Right now, we're probably 1 out of 4. The numbers will show 1 out of 5, but we give ourselves a little bit of grace after closing. I think Mimi gives herself 2 weeks to secure the referral, and she's going after it. And so she wasn't entirely sure if we were doing like a deliberate process from, hey, new seller client, here's the file, and closing. It's our goal to have 8 conversations where all we're asking is like, hey, AJ, I'm just, we processed that price improvement, all the marketing's done, and I just want to check in to see if we're delivering on the promise we made. Everything good? Is there anything we can improve? Everything's awesome? All right, so where's that referral? Ha, ha, ha. And then that's number 1. And then number 2, all right, AJ, things are going well, still doing good on the promise. Like, have you had any conversations with people that might be looking to buy or sell? Like, I need you to do this. We're gonna keep delivering for you. So, and then just tracking it all. And as long as you're given the goods and you're including them in your Clients for Life program, and maybe they got an invite to an event, or they're gonna be engaged in this process with you. So it's really not rocket science. And even if this checklist, even if you're on paper with your listings, and on one side you have like the promise checklist, and on the other side you have like some other checklists, like don't overthink this thing. You just have to commit to making this part of your business. And then these are just follow-up scripts. And I hear Emily sits at our front desk. She started with Thomas like 5 years ago, and she's now our director of first impressions. She runs these calls. I hear her doing these. Hey, oh, good morning. Is this Lars? Great, my name's Emily with High Performance Real Estate. I see that we just activated your property. I actually just activated this morning in MLS. First, my call is to see how your experience with the team has been so far. Do you have a few minutes to help us improve our high performance experience? Awesome, we really appreciate your time. First, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst and 5 being the best, how would you rate the overall experience so far? If not a 5, what would it take to get it to a 5? Second question, we know you've been working with Brian on our team. Mimi or whoever, our listing client care coordinator, and how has her process and level of follow-up been for you? Is there anything that you'd feel would have made this experience better? By the way, since it sounds like we are delivering on the high performance promise, do you currently know anyone, family, friends, or coworkers that could use our services as well? Those are all the questions we have at this time. We look forward to seeing you at the closing table. So it's not complicated, you know, and Emily's a really well-intentioned, like great team member, but she didn't come up with this. She was just given a process to follow, and now she just follows the process. She opens up Trello, she does her tasks, and then this comes out. And then she shares this at team meetings. So she can now share that, you know, Brian, you're doing a great job in that transaction. I just secured a referral. And so it kind of comes full circle. And here we have 3 of these written out. This is after the property is closed. There's a different script here. We asked for the review there. I think we're pushing them to Google now, so we've changed that. We love to do business with people that we know and like, just like you. I'm sure you have some friends or family members that are looking to buy or sell. And then we actually have them on the form. And then we actually have an operations scorecard. And we're not where we want to get to. We track a bunch of stuff. So our goal was 40%. Referred. So our goal is 40%. We're at 21% this quarter. We had 2 weeks with zeros. So I suspect that we'll probably get some over here to maybe put it up to 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4 is pretty good when you started at 1 out of 20. And if you're not doing this now and you think you have a good referral business, you're probably not doing better than 1 out of 20. Because we were doing just fine before. You know, and there's nothing. So don't look at this like you have to track all of it, because you don't. If you tracked 1 thing or 2 things, I would track this down here. The number of closings that give you a referral within X weeks or by the time you leave closing, and the number that give you a Google review, a 5-star Google review. And then, like I said, you do this, and you get to tell their story. And we did a training on StoryBrand. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. This industry, and it may be other industries as well, we tend to be like, we are the solution. We are the, you know, like we're the person you want. Like I am, let me put my face on a billboard, or, you know, surely it's me that's the hero. And the spin on StoryBrand is just to make your clients the hero. When you give them a great service and they leave you an amazing review, you can get super creative. Get them on video, get them on audio, include them in everything, and then the business gets really fun, because then they're singing your praises. You're not singing your praises. So I won't go through. We have a full training in the member portal on this. It just makes it really fun. Write this down. This is pretty cool. mystorybrand.com. It's a site where you can create these StoryBrand scripts, and each of the steps of this, he gives a little training video. So you almost don't even, the book is almost useless if you just go to this site and you can actually write out your script for each area of your business. There's a seller version, we did a recruiting version, we did a buyer version, we did a real estate B-School version in terms of like what the problem is in the industry, who we're looking for. You know, it's easy to sort of paint that picture of how they're suffering and where they are in their journey. Along comes the guide, right? We are the guide in their journey. They're going to be the hero with their family. They're going to be the hero with their teams. Let them be the hero. And it makes everything easier. And then just use it in your marketing. So I forget this guy's name. What was his name? Thomas knows it. Drayton. I'm going to read this to you because this is awesome. And this is not the same one. And we just got this one. And we sent it out in our newsletter. Like, we want everyone to know this. So today I'm humbled and overjoyed to sit in my new home because of the thoughtfulness, expertise, and professionalism of High Performance Real Estate Advisors. They took the time to listen and learn exactly what I was looking for in a home and showed me the perfect one on the second showing of the day. Where most companies simply work for your commission, High Performance demonstrated a caring and compassionate approach to the home search, transition, negotiations, and closing processes, surpassing all of my expectations, and went above and beyond to show that they cared more about me than the money that was to be made. Brian Boger and the High Performance team, Mimi, Marianne, and Safwa, became family as they not only provided much needed support as I transitioned to a new city for new employment, but they were passionate and considerate during the entire process. In the 11th hour, when the deal appeared to be crashing down, Brian and the High Performance team rallied resources that saved the day. I get goosebumps saying that. I'm eternally grateful and indebted to them for all of their efforts that enables me to now call Charlotte my home. Listen, if there is such a thing as the perfect home search and buying experience, High Performance's approach and teamwork is it. Don't take my word for it. See for yourself, Brian, trusting High Performance. With your real estate needs, you won't be disappointed, Drayton. Like, how awesome is that? Like, just awesome. I mean, I had no bearing in any of it, so it's not like I did it. I mean, our team really, and it has taken every bit of, I feel like, 24 months to really get the team to realize that this is the outcome. Every outcome needs to be like this, where we have changed someone's life. And then we get to do all this cool stuff. So now we can get this guy on audio, and he's in our radio spots. We have every ridiculous iBuyer situation going on in Charlotte, and everyone's buying up media. We still have two of the best endorsements in our market. And the only way we can compete with anybody is putting this guy on radio. It's the only way we can compete, right? We've just made a choice to not continue to go down the route, I'll give you an offer in 1 minute from the time you hit our website. It's like, whoa, instant offer. Look at instant. Like, we've just gone away from that.
And it's been tough. Now the team is very proud of what they did.
Yeah.
They're proud of what they did.
Yeah, Thomas made the point that, go ahead.
No, I mean, it was heavy lifting, and it was two visionaries that were like, guys, we got to take this thing differently. We've got to separate ourselves. We want to appeal to the classes, right? And you've got to slow down to speed up. And it was tough, but now they love it, and they're just so excited that they're lamplighting in real estate at a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And just bringing a service that they're proud of. So.
And then every team meeting, we go through reviews. We have the operations team, talk about all of the closings and the lives that they touched, and call out inside sales, call out a showing agent, call out an agent on the team, and call out the operations team on what they provided, and it just becomes part of your culture. And it's not naturally how I built my business, so this is something that I just realized that this business is not going to be fun unless we become this thing. And then just, there was this really cool article, Social Proof Beats Everything Else in Marketing, that I would definitely read. It's our goal. I think we have about 370 Google reviews now, and I think we have about 560 Zillow reviews. So by the end of the year, our goal is to have more Google reviews than Zillow reviews. And we're getting business from Google already just by focusing on that one contest, which was super cool. And that's it. It's not all that complicated. I really would encourage the front stage part of your business to challenge the backstage. If I'm going to go out there, and I mean, we had some stuff happen that wasn't, we've got some really good, I went on an appointment with Brian. This was, ironically, it was a house that I was adding onto, a big addition, when I got engaged to Julie. I'll get emotional. I proposed to Julie in this house, and I built it at like the exact wrong time. It was like 2006, and our market crashed in 2007, and this was like what I put into this thing. It was a lot of money. I had like $525 into it in a neighborhood that was just sort of turning. So I kept it as a rental, and then I sold it These were the people that I sold it to. And of course, the market had come back. They bought it from me for 400, so I lost 125 on it after I kept it for like 3 years as a crappy rental, and it wasn't even a good rental. And so Brian's given his listing presentation, and the dude is on his game. Like, they were like, we have 3 other agents lined up, you know, in the process, and one of them is an agent that lists, she's lived in the neighborhood forever. She does like 25 million with her and one assistant. She is the neighborhood expert. She probably should have taken that listing. She's coming in at noon the next day, and Brian's like, what is she going to tell you that I haven't already told you? And we have the menu out. He's doing all of them. I'm like, oh, this is getting intense. And like, my palms are sweating. I'm not even talking. And my palms are sweating watching him. And he's making a big promise. And this is when we just started rolling out the promise. Of course, he gets like, this is really the preferred package. You know, it's our middle of the road package. You know, most of our clients get the most success in this. And this is 2 points more than what most of you are probably getting right now. So it's not a little bit more. And this is a $540,000 house. So we're asking this guy and this husband and wife for $10,000 more than an amazing agent that I know would crush it that's coming in at noon the next day. And we get it. And then there was nothing close to a promise delivered on this thing. It was the biggest shit show ever. And the guy calls us up and this is a joke. So don't do that part. Like, make sure you're like ready. If you're going to charge a premium, you know, make sure you're actually. So, but we still did it. Like, we fumbled. It was really awkward. He's like, if you don't reduce your commission to this rate by midnight tonight, like, we're just going to pull our listing because we give a cancellation guarantee. So we did. We still sold it. We got through the transaction. We recovered what we could. They were moving to, like, hopefully a different country so they could never, you know. So you're going to have to kind of get through things like that. Like, your front stage is going to put pressure on your backstage as you get through this, and you just got to figure it out as a team. And you got to be able to go out there and make these big promises, and then whatever it takes. Let's do this, because we are pretty much. I want you to take like a couple songs here, and all I want you to do is, if you've ever gone through a Bridge the Gap, go to a blank page in your book, and I want you to draw 2 lines. So divide it into thirds. Draw 2 lines on it. The top, I want you to say, where are you now? Just write that. Where are you now? The bottom, where do you want to be? This is as it relates to you delivering a 10 out of 10 Ritz-Carlton, Zappos, Nordstrom, whatever your thing is. So where are you now? Where do you want to be? And in the middle is, how do you bridge the gap? How do you get there? So I pretty much identified like 4 or 5 things you could do. And I want you to just take a little bit of time here to go through this. So the top is where are you now, the bottom is where do you want to be, and the middle is what are the 3 or 4 action steps in the middle that you need to do. And this has to become, after you finish that, it has to go on one of those cards. This one thing, we're not going to let you out of the room unless you show us that card with this on it. So you can't pee for the rest of the day. All right, so let's do that now. Wait, try to hold your break if you can. I'll have you guys out of here in like 5 or 6 minutes.